From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Tonight, 39 students of the College of Forestry in Kaduna State still missing after troops rescued 180 others. Governor El Rufai says he will ensure abducted students are rescued, insists amnesty for bandits is not an option. Federal government says there is no increase in pump price of petrol as panic buying begins in some states. And the World Health Organization says AstraZeneca vaccine is excellent, confirms its efficacy. Plus sports, business, and later international news from our London studios.
On business news tonight, the African Development Bank launches 2021 economic outlook for continent as it seeks to examine the socio-economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic on countries across Africa.
On sports news tonight, NFF President Amaju Pinnick becomes third Nigerian ever to get a seat at the FIFA Council.
And from Abuja, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo seeks more hard work on ensuring equity, justice and fairness to strengthen Nigeria's unity.
We begin in Kaduna State, where gunmen have again abducted students from the Federal College of Forestry, Afaka. Latest update from the state is that 39 students are still missing after troops rescued 180 others from the abductors. The Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, says the missing students comprise 23 females and 16 males, while those rescued include 42 females, 130 males, and 8 officials of the school.
Anxiety of parents on display at the gate of the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization in Afaka, Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. Their apprehension is a result of news of an incident concerning their children, which has brought them out.
May government do something. All these things with the hear and far away now, you don't reach where would they. Which one would they inside now? Would they our house will not safe? Children they school they not safe. Now they say government no want me our children go school me I don't know. I don't know waiting I go talk past that one. Make them go rescue our children. Make them bring our children back for us.
Hundreds of students have been abducted by bandits, but the swift response of security forces led to the rescue of 180, with some still missing.
The military and other security agencies are working around the clock. Some of the students that were rescued sustained injuries, just bruises within the school environment. They are presently receiving medical attention at a military facility. Certainly, military and other security agencies are working around the clock.
This man is glad his son was rescued, but wants the government to exert more pressure on getting the others released.
It will not be good. We just found just few security men, civilian security by the gate here, and something is happening inside the school. What will the security men do? So we're begging the government to at least help and send in security men to beef up the school so that to help that if anything should happen again, at least the security will be of help to the school and even to the government.
This is how the bandits made their way into the school premises, which underscores the need to intensify security in personnel and technology. As the government and security forces work this out, parents of the remaining students yet to be rescued pray the situation is resolved as quickly and safely as possible.
The Kaduna College abduction is a cause of worry for the state government, who says efforts are ongoing to rescue the remaining 39 students still in captivity. I spoke to Governor Nasir El-Rufai earlier about the developments in his state, and I started by asking him about how he received the news of the abduction of the students.
It was quite a shock. We had some human intelligence earlier in the evening that the bandits were planning to attack one of the private secondary schools in Kaduna, in a location very near the Federal College of Forestry. So we informed the security agencies and they deployed to that secondary school. I have a feeling that the bandits got their informants to warn them that that school is well protected. So they changed course and broke into the Federal College. It was a bit of a surprise, but we informed the Nigerian Army garrison commander and they quickly moved to the location. And we were optimistic that they would not succeed in getting away with any of the students and staff. But unfortunately, they did.
It's been quite hard, the abductions from schools across the country, but you have been a strong advocate for no amnesty for these bandits. And now that, some of these students are in captivity from your state, what are the options you're likely to pursue to nip this in the bud and to lead to their rescue?
Our policy has been consistent and unequivocal. We do not negotiate with criminals. We do not believe that they should get any amnesty, and that has not changed. But at this moment, I don't want to go into details into steps that we are taking to secure the rescue of the other 30. We think that there are about 30 of them still in captivity. We are working with all the security agencies to ensure their safe release. Our policy has not and will not change because we do not believe that giving money to bandits solves the problem. We believe that giving them money gives them the wherewithal to acquire more sophisticated weapons and be a graver danger to the country as a whole. So our position has not changed.
You spoke earlier about being in a state of shock, so you can imagine how the parents of these students feel at the moment. A lot of them are confused at first, but now it's clear, some of their children have been abducted. What assurances do you have for them of the safety of their children?
Well, many of the parents came, and the 180 that were rescued were treated at the Ribadu cantonment of the Nigerian Army. About nearly 100 had wounds of one kind or another during the engagement between the army and the bandits, and they were all treated and handed over to their parents. I want to assure the parents of those still in captivity that the Federal Ministry of Environment, which is the supervising ministry for the College of Forestry Mechanization, led by the Minister of Environment, Dr. Mohammed Abubakar Mahmood, and the Kaduna State Government are working together to secure the release of the life lanes of those students. Our first priority. We'll do whatever we can to get them released, so they should be rest assured that everything that is possible will be done.
Now, unfortunately, this is becoming a recurrent problem currently in the country. So do you have any fresh suggestions on how the nation can tackle this?
Well, I can only give our own perspective here in Kaduna. As you know, context makes a difference depending on the state. But I believe that the current stance of the federal government that all these bandits should be wiped out is the right stance. And the armed forces are doing the best that they can. They need more weaponry, they need more technology. And we are assured that they are getting that so that these bandits can be treated for the insurgents and terrorists that they are and be wiped out and totally decimated. That's one. Secondly, here in Kaduna State, what we did was to map the entire state and look at the pattern of abductions in our neighboring states. And we came to the conclusion that all the schools that are in isolated locations, that security agencies cannot get there in less than 30 minutes, are at risk. And we took the precaution of closing 4 of our boarding secondary schools that we concluded were at risk. And we redistributed the students in our other boarding schools so that their studies are not disrupted. I think this is what every state should do for the time being until the war against the bandits is successfully completed.
Governor Nasir El-Rufai, thank you for speaking with us tonight, and we're praying for the safety of these children and, of course, for their quick return. Thanks again.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Before the latest abduction in Kaduna, the country has in recent times recorded several cases of kidnapping of this nature targeted at students. This has over time called attention to the need to tighten security in schools across the country and put an end to the rising cases of abduction. Our next report takes a look at events before this latest abduction in Kaduna.
On April 14, 2014, militants from the Boko Haram sect descended on the government secondary school, Chibok, Borno State, northeast Nigeria, and abducted about 276 girls from the hostel and drove them to the Sambisa forest. That attack gave rise to the Bring Back Our Girls movement, a campaign that resonated beyond the shores of Nigeria. With the nation yet to understand the motive behind the abduction, the terrorists stormed the Government Girls Science and Technical College in Dapchi area of Yunusari local government area of Yobe State on February 19, 2018, abducting schoolgirls aged 11 to 19. To add to the growing list of school attacks, on the evening of December the 11th, 2020, some unknown persons raided the Government Science Secondary School in Kankara, where some students were whisked away to neighboring Zamfara State. Following an intensive search for the students, the Katsina State government on December the 17th, 2020, announced the release by their captors.
Release of the 344 students of Kankara Government Science Secondary School.
On Wednesday, February the 17th, the nation woke up to the disturbing news of yet another attack, this time on the Government Science Secondary School in Kagara, Niger State, in northwest Nigeria. Some staff of the school and their family members were also taken away by the gunmen. Like the ones before it, this attack has also attracted lots of condemnation, with many describing it as one abduction too many.
In part 2, after the break, federal government says there is no increase in pump price of petrol as panic buying begins in some states. Join us again. Welcome back. If it has joined us to watch the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos, a reminder of our top stories. 39 students of the College of Forestry in Kaduna State still missing after troops rescued 180 others. Governor Nasir El-Rufai says he will ensure abducted students are rescued, insists amnesty for bandits is not an option. Federal government says there is no increase in pump price of petrol as panic buying begins in some states. And the World Health Organization gives an assurance of the efficacy of the AstraZeneca vaccine, says it's excellent. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation is insisting there is no increase in the ex-depot price of premium motor spirits, also known as petrol, this month. NNPC announced this via a post on its official Twitter handle. This was in reaction to the templates which the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency released earlier today, which was later deleted, saying that petrol is expected to sell at a lower retail price of 209 naira 61 kobo and at an upper retail price of 212 naira 61 kobo. The NNPC had earlier promised that the petrol price would remain same in March to allow smooth negotiations between government and labor unions. Meanwhile, panic buying has already begun in some states across the country, particularly in Abuja and in Lagos. Long queues have been seen at some filling stations, even spilling onto highways, causing heavy traffic. And some filling stations have adjusted their pump price. The Minister of State for Petroleum has also been explaining what caused the panic.
This is disheartening. What exactly is going on? How bad can this get when government agencies are saying different things at the same time, at different times, when they're supposed to be working in unison?
No, of course, they are working in unison. It just there was just a mix-up. You know, this kind of things happen from time to time. The PPPRA was actually reacting to something different that had to do with the World Bank. So they made a publication which was actually misread as well, and because there was a lot of mix-ups, and the PPPRA immediately saw that there was a problem and they brought it down. And right now, if you go to the website, it's no longer there. So it's not a matter, it's not an issue of government agencies working at cross purposes, but it's because there were just a little bit of a misunderstanding of directives.
I see that you tried to also stop by and look at what is going on, and you expressed dissatisfaction with what marketers are doing. What is the true position and what is the strong statement?
No, it's very disheartening that marketers will just go ahead because they just got a hint of something that will be happening or might be happening and decided to hoard. And that's what happened today. And of course, there has not been any form of fuel increase, fuel price increase, and we have made it very clear to the marketers, and there will be sanctions.
So after today, if we do not see marketers doing the right thing, what happens?
That's what I said. If marketers are not doing the right thing by tomorrow or even by today, there will be sanctions. I mean, there is no form of fuel increase, and that has been made very clear to them, and I don't think we will have any problem.
Let's get more news now from our Abuja studios. Here's Terry Ikumi.
Welcome to the nation's capital. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, believes that there is so much work that must be done in the pursuit of Nigeria's unity. The Vice President says hard work of ensuring justice, equity and fairness for all segments of society is critical to strengthening the nation's oneness. Professor Osinbajo made the comments at a convocation lecture of the Sokoto State University.
Unity requires the hard work of ensuring justice, equity and fairness for all segments of society, for all ethnicities, for all faiths. We must ensure justice and fairness, and it is hard work. We must not overlook any fears or allegations of marginalization or discrimination on account of religion or ethnicity. We must confront them. We must let people speak up, and we must confront them. We must not sweep them under the carpet. And this is especially the responsibility of political, religious, and ethnic leaders. We are the ones who have to do the difficult work of mediating between the classes and segments of our society. Any leader who cannot tell his community the hard truths, any leader who cannot speak about compromise and about coming together with other tribes and other faiths to his community is undeserving of the position of leadership. It is our role as leaders to speak to our people, to speak to our communities, and to let them know that this nation is stronger together than apart.
To legal matters, a 5-man panel of the Supreme Court has affirmed the 10-year jail term slammed on the former governor of Plateau State, Senator Joshua Dariye, who is serving a 10-year jail term for criminal breach of trust. In a lead judgment read by Justice Helen Ogunwumiju, on behalf of the Justice Mary Odili panel, the court held that the appeal court was right to have affirmed the judgment of an Abuja High Court, which originally sentenced Senator Dariye. The Apex Court, however, quashed the charge of criminal misappropriation of funds, which carries a 2-year jail term.
The judgment of the court, as read the Supreme Court, which is the Apex Court, is that the offense of criminal breach of trust has been proven. Therefore, the conviction and sentence on criminal breach of trust, which was reviewed by the Court of Appeal to 10 years, the sentence was reduced to 10 years, is upheld, while the convictions and sentence on criminal misappropriation was quashed. That's the judgment of the court.
Meanwhile, a federal high court sitting in Lagos has reserved ruling in the no-case submission filed by a former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Paul Usoro. Justice Rilwan Aikawa fixed June the 10th for ruling after hearing the arguments of both counsel for the prosecution and defendant. At the proceedings today, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Effiong led 3 other Senior Advocates of Nigeria, Shina Shofola, Bode Olanipekun and Chukwuka Ikwazom, to appear for the former NBA president. Arguing the no-case submission, Effiong submitted that the prosecution only called 2 witnesses and closed its case because they knew they did not have any case against the defendants. But in a swift reaction, counsel to the EFCC, Uduak Kufre, informed the court of his counter-affidavit filed in opposition to the application of the defendant, urging the court to dismiss the no-case submission in view of the overwhelming evidence adduced by the prosecution and the exhibits admitted in evidence. The Lagos State Judicial Panel on Restitution for Victims of SARS-related abuses and other matters has awarded the sum of 7.5 million naira to a petitioner, Mark Chidiebere Nwadi. The petitioner had told the panel he was incarcerated by the Nigeria Police Force without justification for 6 years. Mr. Nwadi was arrested in 1999 when he came to Lagos to look for his brother in Surulere. It wasn't until after 3 years when a corps member posted to serve in the prison sent a message to his family, and he was released after 3 years through some missionaries.
Hearing at Friday's proceedings at the Lagos State Judicial Panel on Restitution for Victims of SARS-related abuses and other matters did not begin as usual. The chairman, Justice Doris Okwobi, decided to begin by delivering her judgment on the case between Mark Chidiebere Nwadi and the Nigerian Police Force. The petitioner had in his testimony explained that in 1999 he was incarcerated by the Nigerian Police Force without justification for 6 years and was only released through the help of some missionaries. He was, however, awarded the sum of 7.5 million naira on behalf of the state government.
The petitioner was incarcerated by the Nigerian Police Force at the prime of his life without justification for 6 years and was never tried nor sentenced for any crime, despite enduring a long 6-year stay in prison and losing a vital part of his youth and opportunities. We hereby make an award of 7.5 million naira in favor of the petitioner.
Mr. Nwadi was arrested at the age of 18 and freed at the age of 24. He wrote 2 books while in prison and founded a non-governmental organization to help youth stay on the right path.
Nothing is too small, nothing is too big. It might not be about the money, but I'm very grateful that I have been heard. You know, the world has seen me and they have heard my story. Remember that when I was in prison, for no one, I was not taken to any competent court. I was just dumped there. So my happiness is this. I was given the opportunity to be heard, which the panel did for me. I really want to thank the Justice Doris and Lady panel for living up to its creed.
Mark Chidebere Nwadi is the 3rd petitioner to be compensated by the panel for the brutality they suffered in the hands of the police officers.
When the news at 10 returns, African Development Bank launches 2021 economic outlook for continent as it seeks to examine the socio-economic impact of COVID-19 on African countries. That's on Business News. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has received his COVID-19 vaccine shot after the state received its own share of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines. The vaccination marks the official rollout, distribution and administration of COVID-19 vaccine in the state. The State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, who also received his jab today, says the rollout will be in 4 phases with priority given to health workers, the police, airport authorities and judicial workers. Meanwhile, former head of state General Abdulsalami Abubakar and his wife have also joined the list of those who have been vaccinated in the country. He received his AstraZeneca jab today at his country home in Minna, the Niger State capital. General Abubakar was head of state from 1998 to 1999. He succeeded the late General Sani Abacha. Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State has challenged labor leaders in Nigeria to redirect their energies towards speaking truth to power rather than fighting for minimum wage all the time. The governor explains that until the challenges Nigerians are facing are collectively fought to a standstill, no amount of money paid a worker in the country would be appreciated. Governor Wike made the comments during the commissioning of the Trade Union Congress Secretariat built by his administration earlier today.
It's the commissioning of a 2-story building donated by the Rivers State government to the Trade Union Congress in the state. The occasion presents a rare opportunity for government officials and organized labor to sit together in an atmosphere devoid of any acrimony. For the national and state leaders of the Trade Union Congress, Governor Wike remains one of the most labor-friendly governors.
I have no reason for being here today than to continue to appreciate you for taking that leadership. You are a very controversial governor when it comes to achievements. And what does that mean? Is that others will have to copy with pride what you are doing here today.
Your Excellency, even in the face of a dwindling economic fortune of the state, you bequeathed to us a legendary legacy that will for a long time make us the signature of eyes in labor cycles. This has demonstrated to far end that you are a man committed to your promises and attests to the fact that you can be held accountable to your words.
For Governor Nyesom Wike, whose administration was strongly challenged by labor leaders in the state in 2020 over the implementation of the new minimum wage, this is a golden opportunity to address them.
Look at what is happening. Increase of fuel, insecurity, increase of tariff in electricity. Where is labor? Where is TUC? Where is the Labour Congress? The only thing I hear, minimum wage, minimum wage. We are going to National Assembly to stop National Assembly for talking about minimum wage to states. That cannot help us. We leave the substance and chase shadows.
I hereby commission and open this edifice for the use of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria and labor movements and for the use of humanity.
It's a general consensus that relationships such as this can engender harmonious industrial relations.
A new partnership that seeks to address challenge in the agricultural value chain has been announced by the Nigerian Incentive-Based System for Agricultural Lending, NERSAL, and the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI. The managing director of NERSAL, Mr. Aliu Abdul Hamid, who was speaking at a meeting between both agencies, explains that the partnership is expected to create over 10,000 direct jobs as well as 100,000 indirect jobs.
Agriculture is one of sub-Saharan Africa's most important sectors. It contributes over 60% of regional employment and accounts for over 25% of the region's gross domestic product. However, investing in the agricultural sector in Nigeria can be a risky business. Smallholder farmers run 80% of all farms in sub-Saharan Africa, with these farms supplying up to 90% of the food production in some countries, and most of them having challenges of infrastructure and linkages. After a tour of the facilities at the NASENI Solar Energy Limited, officials of both organizations settled down to business to discuss how to guarantee food security in the country.
In the continuation of delivering on our mandate of providing end-to-end solutions aimed at fixing breakages along the value chain, the agricultural value chain in Nigeria, we at NASAL PLC are glad to be partnering with NASENI to ensure that there are sustainable fixes.
The partnership is expected to see Nisrael PLC provide up to 75% credit risk guarantee to banks and investors for the scale-up phase of the program. The overall benefit is for food security, economic growth and job creation.
We will help to provide project monitoring, reporting and remediation services to NASENI for these schemes and projects that are arising out of this collaboration.
The Executive Vice Chairman of NASENI speaks on how the partnership will provide end-to-end solutions aimed at fixing the agricultural mechanization value chain in Nigeria.
This smart irrigation system is something we thought is impossible, because if you want to irrigate, usually you need some develop even the administrative structure of river basins that you need to build, the laws you need to enable them, and then the years it takes to construct dams, and some dams constructed are not even functional.
The deal is then sealed. The new deal is expected to boost agribusiness in the country.
Over 6 billion naira has been earmarked by the federal government to facilitate the provision of potable water to communities in Ogoniland facing the impact of oil spills. This is coming from the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, during the inauguration of the Governing Council of Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project. He urged the new inductees to proffer solutions to the leadership tussles and land disputes in the area.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, is representing President Buhari at this inaugural meeting of the Governing Board of the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project. The project was established by the Ministry of Environment to manage the remediation of soil and groundwater contamination in impacted communities, including Ogoniland in Rivers State. The federal government's promise to address the situation dominates the conversation here.
Some milestones and timelines could not be accomplished
substantially, we are nevertheless determined to recover lost grounds and achieve our goals through deliberate efforts aimed at reinvigorating our processes and machinery of delivery. The Honorable Minister of Environment has informed me that the remediation of polluted lands is progressing in various parts of Ogoniland, and I have approved his request to further rejig and restructure HYPREP in order to create an environment for enhanced, structured, and focused delivery of the project.
The meeting provides an opportunity to inaugurate the second board of the project, as well as a board of trustees for the Ogoni Trust Fund.
The inauguration of the second GC and BOT, both being the delivery structures of HYPREP, is just another milestone in the calendar of praiseworthy activities lined up for the accomplishment in the lives of this administration. I am persuaded that this will go a long way in improving the socio-economic and political conditions of the people of Ogoniland and Nigeria in general.
The preponderance of representations of Ogoni on these two boards, including the chairman, board of trustees, is a clear indication of the resolve of the federal government to allow our people own the entire process of the cleanup.
This meeting is another step by the government to ensure the remediation of the affected communities. Residents will be expecting that the team will hit the ground running and rid the land of years of devastating oil spills.
Time for business news. Here's Teniola Shibawale.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Amarachi. Welcome to Business News. The African Development Bank has launched its 2021 African Economic Outlook, which aims to examine Africa's growth performance and outlook and presents the socio-economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The launch of the report with the theme From Debt Resolution to Growth, the Road Ahead for Africa, was attended by AFDB President Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, Nobel Laureate Professor Joseph Stiglitz, government ministers and governors of the bank, representatives of the diplomatic corps, researchers and industry experts. According to the bank, one of the most significant consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic has been a rise in the borrowing needs of African governments to cover expenditures induced by the health crisis.
What's even more alarming is the structure of debt, where the debt right now is largely, Joe, most of it is largely in the hands of commercial creditors, almost $337 billion, in terms of private creditors and also those that are the private creditors without any types of securitization for it. So that's very, very worrying indeed. And the other thing that I will see in the report is the fact, Joe, that the official development assistance, bilateral assistance, has actually plummeted. You look at it in 2000, it used to be 54% of Africa's debt stock, rise down to about 27 or so percent. And you look at, as that is happening, people are going off to the international capital market to go borrow. 17% was what it was in terms of commercial creditors in 2000, now is 40%. And that is where we have a challenge.
The Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, is expected to arrive in Nigeria tomorrow, Saturday, March the 13th. The newly appointed WTO boss, who is the 7th head of the WTO, will be in the country in appreciation of the support she enjoyed from President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. A statement from the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment states that Dr. Iweala will be received at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport by the Minister of Trade, Mr. Adeniyi Adebayo. While on her visit, she's expected to meet with other top government officials to discuss matters of international trade. Let's check in on the stock market now. The bear is still maintaining its grip on the domestic equities market as investors' appetite for stocks remain lackluster at the close of today's trading session. Ekaite Afia has the details.
Thanks for joining us for the Stock Market Report. The month of March seems to be following the same path as February, as the second trading week ends with negative sentiments due to sustained profit-taking by investors. Well, there you have it, the combined drop in the share price of MTN Nigeria, GT Bank, Zenith Bank, Lafarge, as well as 19 other equities forced the market's main index to go further below the 39,000 level. And this is due to the recent rise in bond yield, which has entered its fifth straight week. Now, analysts linked recent investors' downbeat mood during the week to the result of the Treasury bills auction, which has made them to rotate liquidity away from stocks into fixed income securities. Now let's take a look at the activity chart. Although the total volume turnover of equities traded today is slightly higher in contrast to Thursday's figures at 293.97 million units, it still remains low when compared with a normal trading session. Meanwhile, traders say they still expect a silver lining from the upcoming fourth quarter and full-year earnings result of some high-value stocks. So let's keep our fingers crossed for that optimistic outlook. I'm Ekaite Afia. Back to you.
Thanks a lot, Ekaite. It's another rally for U.S. stock markets, with the Dow at an all-time high as industrials continued their strength on the back of the new stimulus package signed by President Joe Biden. But let's find out how other major global bourses ended the week. And that's Business News Tonight. It's back to you, Amarachi.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Tenyola. The World Health Organization says countries should not stop using AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine over fears it could cause blood clots, as there is no indication this is true. There have been about 30 cases in Europe of people developing blood clots after the vaccine was administered. Bulgaria, Denmark and Norway are among the countries that have suspended the vaccine's use. But while the WHO says it's investigating the issue, it insists there is no link between the jab and an increase in developing blood clots. Let's head over now to our London studio, where Simon Pusey has more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. US President Joe Biden has said he is hopeful that America can mark independence from COVID-19 on July the 4th if people get vaccinated.
Good evening, my fellow Americans.
In his first primetime TV address as president, Mr. Biden said he would order states to make all adults eligible for vaccinations by May the 1st. Currently, measures prioritize people by age or health condition. Mr. Biden was speaking exactly a year to the day after the outbreak was classified a global pandemic. 500,000 Americans have since died, more than the death toll from World War I, World War II and the Vietnam War combined. Thailand has delayed the rollout of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine over reports of blood clots, despite there being no evidence of a link to the jab. The country's prime minister was due to kick off the country's vaccination drive by getting the vaccine on Friday, but this has now been cancelled. The delay comes after a number of countries, including Denmark and Norway, suspended the use of the jab. Around 5 million Europeans have already received the AstraZeneca vaccine. Myanmar activists have held more rallies against the military junta as South Korea says it will suspend defense exchanges and reconsider development aid to the nation. A group of frontline demonstrators with protective gear and homemade shields in Yangon observed a minute of silence to remember those who have been killed. The rallies came a day after a rights group said security forces killed 12 protesters, taking the death toll to more than 70 since the coup started. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said Turkey has resumed diplomatic contact with Egypt and wants further cooperation after years of tensions. Two Egyptian intelligence sources said Turkey had proposed a meeting to discuss cooperation, but suggested the contacts were still only preliminary. President Erdogan said the contacts were not at the highest level, but right below the highest level. He expressed the hope contact with Egypt should be strengthened. Relations with Cairo have been difficult since Egypt's army ousted Mohamed Morsi, Egypt's first democratically elected president, and an ally of Erdogan after protests in 2013. Nagpur in western India is to be the first major city in the country to return to complete lockdown amid a sharp spike in coronavirus cases. It comes as hundreds of thousands of Hindu devotees plunged into India's Ganges River despite the ongoing pandemic. The week-long lockdown, which starts on the 15th of March, will extend to adjoining areas of the district as well. India has recorded more than 11 million cases and 157,000 deaths so far. A mass funeral ceremony has taken place for the victims of a series of explosions in Equatorial Guinea's largest city, which killed at least 105 people and injured more than 600 others. The victims' coffins were carried in a procession into a soccer stadium in Bata, where the explosions happened on Sunday. The Prime Minister and Vice President watched the procession. The government blames the incident on fires set by farmers living near the military base and the negligent handling of dynamite stocks. King Goodwill Zwelithini of the Zulu nation in South Africa has died in hospital where he was being treated for diabetes-related issues. The 72-year-old king was the leader of South Africa's largest ethnic group and an influential traditional ruler. He had been admitted to hospital last week to monitor his ongoing diabetes. The King's Prime Minister thanked South Africa for its continued prayers and support in this most difficult time. And finally, giant hands have appeared at two locations in Benin, part of a global project by the French artist Sepe. On a beach that was once one of Africa's main slave trade hubs, a giant hand appears to be slipping into the ocean while another is pulling it back. This is one of two frescoes from French land artist Sepe to appear in Benin. Armed with a spray gun and biodegradable paint, his Beyond Walls project is trying to create a chain of human hands across the globe. In total, over the past 2 years, Sepe has visited 3 continents and painted 37 pairs of hands with the aim of spreading a message of friendship and peace. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks a lot, Simon. Ayotunde Balogun standing by now for sports news.
Yes, indeed, Amarachi. South African billionaire Patrice Motsepe has been confirmed as the new Confederation of African Football president during the organization's 43rd Ordinary General Assembly in Rabat, Morocco today. Motsepe, who is the owner of South African giants Mamelodi Sundowns, was elected unopposed to replace outgoing Ahmad Ahmad, the Malagasy. The other candidates for the top post in CAF had withdrawn their bids after being promised other roles through FIFA President Gianni Infantino and some of his senior representatives.
It's a huge honor and a huge privilege for me, and we spent the morning hearing the challenges that confronts African football, and I'll talk later about what all of us, the leadership we have in Africa, the leadership we have of football in every country. It is that leadership that gives me confidence and that inspires me, and I'm absolutely confident working together we will indeed succeed to make African football not just reach the summit, but be amongst the best in the world.
Meanwhile, Nigeria Football Federation President Amaju Pinnick has been elected as a member of the FIFA Council, the highest decision-making body of world football. Pinnick becomes the third Nigerian after Amos Adamo and Orok Oyo to get a seat at the FIFA Council after defeating Malawi's Walter Yamilandu to the Anglophone slot, winning by 43 to 8 votes. The NFF boss also becomes the 5th vice president in an expanded CAF Executive Council. Manchester City FC manager Pep Guardiola says he admires managers of lower-ranked teams who are not afraid of sticking to their style of football despite poor results. Guardiola said a new generation of managers, including Fulham boss Scott Parker, are taking a courageous step in playing attacking football. Man City will face Fulham at Craven Cottage in the Premier League tomorrow. And Bayern Munich coach Hansi Flick has ruled out becoming Joachim Löw's successor as Germany national team coach. Flick, who was among those tipped as Löw's successor, intends to continue to focus on the Bavarian giants, Bayern. Now, speculation about Flick being considered to replace Löw was based on Bayern's recent record, which saw them win the treble of Champions League, Bundesliga title and the German Cup last season. And that's News Track. I'm Ayo Tunde. Balogun, back to you, Marachi.
And the main news again. Bandits today abducted students from the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization, Afaka, in Kaduna State. 39 of them are still missing after troops rescued 180 others. But Governor El Rufai has promised to ensure release of those still in custody of the bandits. That is the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night and stay safe.